What is going on YouTube? Hidden back making another brand new Crypto TV episode. In today's video, we're going to be looking at Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as XRP to US dollar. We're also going to be looking at the current coin market cap as well as DueDEX. Specifically in today's video, I wanted to talk about basically the video I made yesterday, and then moving on from that, basically discussing which way the massive XRP and Bitcoin price movement is going to be headed. I mean, I feel like most of you guys already know which direction that is going to be. I felt like I've discussed that for the most part on the channel, and I want to continue discussing that with you guys. As you can see, I'm on the XRP chart right now, and you'll notice that in the long-term aspect of things, after many days and weeks, if not now years of trading, 3 years, you can see we're now coming to a point of fairly quite a bit of significance in retrospect to how long we've been trading on here. You'll notice now that we're finally coming to what appears to be one of the last and final days of what could be a massive rally approaching for the coin. After many months of just negative, movement, we're finally coming to that end point. And I would like to discuss with you guys how many more days potentially are left before we see, big moves, what to anticipate, when it's going to happen. There's definitely some key targeting areas we can discuss, and I'll give you guys my analysis as towards how many days are left, how long we have to wait, things of that nature. Otherwise, if you guys are new to the channel, definitely make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave a giant thumbs up, follow me on Twitter at CryptoVOfficial. This way, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can just head over there and DM me. But otherwise, let's jump into today's episode. Alright guys, so we are doing the Crypto TV Crypto Influencers $200 Bitcoin giveaway. The link is in the description down below. There's less than 2 weeks to enter before we do the raffle and the drawing on the channel. So definitely make sure to partake in that. I definitely know there's more than 1,099 people that have entered with a total of around 1,500 entries. But, we have a channel of 16,000 people, and with only 1,000 actions, it's pretty surprising that there should be a lot more people getting involved with a free $200 Bitcoin giveaway. There's literally no strings attached. I'm not, going to ask you to send all this information and crap like that and then me give it out, or ask you to pay to get involved in the Bitcoin giveaway. It's not that at all. You're literally getting 7 ways to enter a free giveaway for me to do a giveaway back to you. So check it out. It helps grow the channel. It's a great way to give back to my subscribers, especially with all the nonsense that's going on within this world. So definitely make sure to check it out. There is a link to this in the description down below. You got to be in it to win it. But to move on to the technical analysis in today's episode, like I said in the title, I do want to talk about where the markets are going to be heading in the next couple of days, weeks, months, years, things like that. As you can see, top 10 cryptos, everything for the most part is kind of trading sideways once again. We're pretty much flatlined out. After long days of consolidation, we're now back to the uncertainty, back to little movement, back to trading sideways. Ultimately, we have to figure out what exactly is going to happen. So to give you guys more estimates on the market, you can see on a long-term approach, we've had many days of this movement. If we take a date range, literally just go back to the point of breakout, we've been consolidating now for 917 days. What's pretty crazy too is I've pretty much made a video for almost all of those days coming, which is absolutely incredible, the growth of this channel. But I've literally made close to 900 videos, which is it's insane. But we've tracked every single day on this candle, every single week on this candle right here, on this price graph has been charted and tracked. So specifically, we can see as the growth has happened, we're coming down to a final point. Whether or not this is the final point or this is the final point, that's it. Ultimately, big moves like this, a lot of consolidation, ultimately end in a big price explosion. We're trading at 45 on the relative strength indicator. That is more than enough for us to pretty much figure out exactly where we're going to be heading. You can see we should have, where is it, the volume on here. Wherever that is, maybe it's not on here, but we should have volume. Regardless of the point, volume is slowly turning stagnant. You can see after many months and weeks of trading, the only times where we have, direct consideration of big breakouts is when we see sideways movement like this. We then saw a spike from 31 cents practically all the way up to 50. So seeing the same sideways movement, we can gather the information that a similar aspect is going to happen in the market. So when I zoom out, you can see for the most part what exactly is going to happen. You can see that there is definitely some interesting movements to be completed. You can see we're currently, today is what, the 18th. We've been trading sideways now for quite a while. I'd say ever since all the way back in end of May, and we've consolidated all the way through June now. We did have a dip as we got rejected from the middle moving average, but ultimately I do think we need to come to a standpoint. I think from today all the way to finishing, I'd say there's about 14 days left. You could see ultimately completing this movement right here. We need to see the consolidation. We need to see the sideways trading. We need to fill the gap, as they would say, getting closer to this area. Ultimately, after hitting this, there's obviously one of two things that's going to happen. I am more so bearish than bullish. There's a good chance we're going to see a break to the downside before we see a big universal jump to the upside. Reason being is, I don't even have to scroll back all the way to 2017, but you can see back in March of 2020, we did retest the previous all-time lows, retested it again. This is a very strong support, and you can see that this is a very weak support right here. We've broken behind it with little to no resistance right through. There's a very high chance the same thing is going to happen as we pull us all the way back down around 14 cents. So anticipate bearish market before we see more bulls. This is ultimately just 14 days left of filling this gap right here. That's on the XRP charts. I would consider us either dropping all the way back down to 7.179 very quickly, or we're going to hit the 19-cent support or resistance, the downtrend, and then drop lower, consolidate in, and then see the big drop. Specifically moving on to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is one of these coins that we've seen a lot of consolidation now. A lot of consolidation. Extending us out to the weekly, you can see what it is that I'm referencing. You can see on the massive weekly scale, we've seen many months, many years of trading sideways. But ultimately, as we've progressed through, we have developed a bigger picture and a bigger plan. Originally, we were tracking this movement right here. It was very easy to graph. Hopefully, a lot of you guys remember, but it was very simple. It was literally this and something like this. We can just extend this down, mitigating the FOMO. I like to think anything above here was all FOMO buying in. But ultimately, you can see we had an uptrend and a downtrend. We reached a point, we broke bearish. Ultimately, very easy to track, and it is definitely a position that holds true. We broke bearish from the symmetrical triangle. Very possible we could do the same thing, but I wouldn't worry too much because we have the power to short. Now, ultimately, the same thing happened. We consolidated down. We found a bottom support, which was very unique to how the uptrend started. When we were able to complete the uptrend, we knew we were hitting a resistance, a support, a resistance again, ultimately making a massive Elliott wave formation. Long-term Elliott wave. If things end the way they end, if we can track now all of the date ranges from points of A to B, C to D, things like that, we can pretty much get a rough estimate of what we could expect. So A to B took about 147 days, right? B to C took about 230 days. We now see that here to here took about 77. So it takes a while for the bear market to complete. Notice we don't have much left in this price, and it won't be as violent or vigorous as the past because we have a much smaller point and a much smaller gap. Ultimately, the end of the gap from where we first started, or where we are currently, is about 399 days. That's in total long-term about a year. And in that year, we could see some very interesting movements. I'd be very shocked if within that movement, it's definitely doable, we could break out, but I would assume about half of that is going to be bear market. Ultimately, if I extend this back to give a rough estimate to about E, this is 170 days now. 175 divided by 31, if anyone wants to do that math quicker than me. Let's just do 170 divided by 30. Gives us about 5.6 months. That's a little less than, it's about half the year, which could be dedicated to a dormant bear market. You have to consider that as we start to head from D to E. Notice that point C to D did take quite a while too. You really can't bash it. C to D took about 3 months, took about 98 days, a little more than 3 months of bull market. So who's to say that we can't have a bear market of the same volume? And very easily we could go much lower, much quicker, and we could easily retouch E right here. And this could take up 2 months, if that. I was playing a conservative approach, saying that about 3 months is where my head's at. Now, ultimately, what I anticipate is a short. Regardless, I think we've hit the top on this coin, and I think we need to pull back. And ultimately, we're starting to see that happen now as we start to hit this resistance and we start to get rejected. Ultimately, I do believe the coin is going to move down very soon to about $8,500, retesting its middle moving average, and then a good chance it's going to head lower. Now, all of my trades are put on my Patreon, as well as I share it on Twitter and things like that. But specifically, if you guys are interested in learning how to buy long, sell short, leverage trades, what my positions are, everything is in the description, and I highly recommend checking it out. Huge shout out to everybody supporting me over there. But ultimately, I do think we're going to see a pullback, and I think it's going to be very quick. I think going down to 83 is very quick, but I'd ultimately get your minds more away from a bull market and closer to a bear market as we anticipate and expect a correction to the downside. Now, we can make quite a bit of money off of this using DueDEX. The link to DueDEX is also in the description. This allows us to short cryptocurrency, allows us to short Bitcoin, which to me is the best bet. Ultimately, being able to short crypto, being able to short Bitcoin specifically with such an easy trade. I mean, we could even put this here. I mean, I don't want to, don't get me wrong, but it's something we do have to consider. If this would even close, please, there we go, boom, extend this up to the point that we started from. And we could theoretically extend this down here. You know, we could just leave this here for reference, that this does make a lot of sense as to why we pulled down to there. But ultimately, if we change this color and match this, let's get it to yellow and let's thicken this wire. You can see we do have a very interesting pattern forming. Ultimately, this is a wider gap, a descending gap, but ultimately, after 3 retests now, there's a good confirmation this is going to break bearish. We're going to see consolidation, and we're going to pull back down to easily $6,700. Very easily, I think it's going to happen. I do think a correction is in, but all the money is possible to be made. Unlike before, where we weren't able to make profitable trades off Bitcoin dropping, we can now short this and create quite a bit of worthy money. So definitely make sure to check that out. As for Ethereum and the other cryptos, Ethereum actually needs to complete the gap. I do think it's going to head up before it heads down. Litecoin needs to fill the gap as well. It's going to take very long. If you guys are interested in those coins, definitely make sure to comment down below. Otherwise, make sure to partake in the giveaway down below as well. And follow me on YouTube, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at CryptoVOfficial, and I'll see you in tomorrow's episode. Peace.